All right, we got our first best of 5, our first qualifying match of today. In the bottom left, there's the red Protoss for Team Liquid. He is Harstem. And to the top right is the blue Terran. He is Maru. I was gonna quickly check who else has made it through already. Let me see. I was already on it. I got it. So Byun, Clem, Raynor, and Cyril have all made it through already. So that was from yesterday's European qualifier, and one invited player, by the way, Trap, who won the previous TSL. Although that sometimes still doesn't feel real. That was a doozy of a best of 7. So yeah, I already have 5 players in TSL, and this is for the remaining ones. So quite a few more to still go. Entire week worth of qualifiers, actually. Thank you, Bali, for the 48 months. 48 years. Why is that a meme? It really makes no sense, but I love it. Thank you very much. Alright. So Maru versus Harstem. Maru already doing Maru things and just being a little bit tricky, even though he's not actually doing a whole lot. He is still potentially confusing Harstem. Funny thing about Harstem, though, is that I think I've noticed this enough that I can say it with confidence. He's one of the less likely Protosses to scout. Generally in, well, most matchups, actually. Yeah, I'd say most matchups. You're going to scout. You know, PvZ, you're going to, block their hatchery. PvP, you're going to want to see where the second pylon is. Or isn't. In PvT, you're going to be, Captain Dickhead. You're going to try and actually attack the SCVs. But no, Harstem, in all of those matchups I just listed, he actually is the most likely Protoss I've seen to not scout. So it's the same here. He's not scouted. Which means he doesn't get confused by the lack of barracks, but then also means he really doesn't know what's following this up. And this is surprisingly difficult. Good last-second use of the probe, I would say. It's a very awkwardly placed shield battery, though. It's definitely not ideal. And what's also not very ideal at all is getting the bunker up. No, this is weird for Harstem. This is weird. Shield battery will finish, but not with very much health. I think you cancel it. Yeah. Better situation for Harstem. Actually getting that SCV kill. that's the hands down the simplest solution is to ensure the SCV is killed before the bunker is done. If you don't, then this turns really awkward. So this bunker can oftentimes be found behind the minerals, right? Because it's kind of sneaky, and making sure you don't see it. But then the shield battery plus the unit production means that it's really not that bad of a problem to take care of. But when you put it so brazenly like Maru has, you actually can attack the structures that are meant to defend it. The shield battery. Eventually the Protoss will get enough units, but it's so much more difficult with the shield battery. Harstem is trying to continue on doing his thing, so the Adept got some scouting, saw that it was a 1-base build for who knows how long, he can't get up to the main base. And he is trying to get to his Oracle, which will eventually go across the map and scout, but that was a lot of awkwardness there for Harstem. Oracle actually reveals itself helping to kill those Reapers so they don't return back and kill a bunch of probes and he's not paying attention. So 3 probes go down, a pylon goes down, shield battery has to be cancelled. But all in all, Maru's actually lost more, plus he didn't have his command center that quickly or on the low ground, so it's still going to be a little bit more, and Maru was pretty much hoping, I would say, that this would do a little bit more. But especially now that the Stalkers push it away once, if he does try and run away, he's not coming back in. He knows a Phoenix will be made, so he's going to go for it. That means that the probes just get pulled away, and at most, only 3 should go down. Yep. I think he wasn't yeah, okay, I could barely tell, actually. The Revelation helped with one of the ones that didn't pop off. So only 2 probes went down. Oh, and Harstem is gonna go ahead and go into Twilight Council Charge Phoenix. Yeah, alright. So it could have been Charge Or not charge. It could have been Phoenix Colossus, Phoenix Charge. Phoenix Charge it is, something that Maru did fly over with his medevac, I believe. Yeah, he got close enough, yeah. So, should kind of you have a good idea of what's going to be happening here. Select one was made and even positioned to try and stop this from doing any damage. Probably won't do very much, but the Phoenix numbers will grow, and with the growth in Phoenix numbers means that some SCVs will have to die. But we're waiting for the eventual move out from Maru and how that actually goes. Because right now, they're both on each other's side of the map. They're both on their own side of the map, is a better way to put it. Both on their own side of the map, and there's not going to be very much done, although a Viking ends up actually getting through. A couple of cheeky probe kills, doesn't find too much though. That's usually some of the actual map presence that Maru will find on the other side of the map, because the Phoenix will dominate. And there you have it, just a Marine trying to skirt by and see the third Nexus, maybe even see if stuff is being warped in. Just a handful of Stalkers. Raven is going to try and actually sneak across the map. I mean... I guess. Like, a Raven versus Phoenix Charge can be oftentimes a bit useless. Like, there's a decent number of games where the Raven tries to go across the map very carefully guarded after being carefully guarded in the main base, because it goes down super quick to Phoenix. And it just, yeah, it dies. It dies, no matter how hard you try to save it, and it really is useless. But there's also some games against Phoenix Charge where it does help out. The anti-armor missile can actually be very helpful if it does blanket a lot of zealots. Sometimes it's like one, you're like, well, that was useless. And the auto turret can technically even be helpful, because the zealots will swarm the auto turret, because that's a very high threat level. But I would say that generally you don't expect much from a Raven against this build, against this style of play. So to use it in knowing full well that you are going to lose it, it's going to die to the Phoenix, I don't know. I'm usually the first to be like, yeah, the Raven's so stupid against this. Like, it's just unfortunate. The Terran was already going into a Raven. And then they went, oh shit, it's Phoenix Charge. But I don't think I like that either. I don't think I like the use. I'd rather him try and hide it and save it and, you know, get the anti-armor missile. Oh well. Oh well. It is what it is. Maru, unfortunately, wastes quite a bit of gas and even a decent amount of starport time on that Raven, and it gets not a whole lot done. Technically draws the Phoenix back, I guess, but not too much. This is kind of clever. Ooh, it's gonna work too. Ooh! It's 2 Phoenix. And doesn't lose the Widow Mines either, so of course that's just a net gain there for Maru. Now Maru has, I think, known about... He's known about the Phoenix for a while, ever since they poked their head into the main base a couple of minutes ago. So he knows what style of play he's up against, and the Raven usage very intentional, knowing it'll die. And he is just trying to play the safe game against this, because the worst thing you can really do, technically something that Terrans do still try and accomplish, is to move out against this. And, you know, basically have the oh shit button ready to go. The oh my god, I overestimated myself and let's run back home. And even sometimes we'll see, you know, if you're not really that well matched, you know, here Marine will actually win, even against Phoenix Charge with his first push. And you're like, well, you're supposed to, but alright. But generally, if you really respect your opponent, Maru does seem to here, you know that they're going to have a power spike, and you're not. And you're going to be in trouble unless you can get just the right positioning, just the right Widowmine hits. So, yeah, usually the safer, better thing to do is to do what Maru's doing. Just kind of, you know, almost turtle, you know, play very defensive, get into Ghosts. That nullifies the Phoenix and the Charge. Literally takes away the Phoenix ability to lift, but that's maybe not the most important thing. Ooh, decent stasis trap. It also just makes them a lot more vulnerable. They go from being able to fly over Marines for 2 seconds to being able to fly over Marines for 0 seconds. So EMP is pretty good. Now Harstem, you know, he would have loved for Maru to just be on autopilot and to run face first into 1 billion zealots. That would have been great. But I think he quickly identified that's not what Maru was going to do. So he's already begun his transition. He's gotten his 4th base up. He's on his way to Colossus, and he is setting up some run-bys, probably just to get more of like the lay of the land than to actually find any true damage. Because if you wanted to find damage with run-bys, you want to wait for their army to move out. So I think Harstem's trying to just find Maru really out of position and on his way to move out, maybe. Because right now, yeah, Harstem has not had very successful Zealots. They've been meh, meh, meh. Love the Stasis traps, though. He's been using his Oracle energy, that's for sure. Again, Zealots come through. This actually ends up being a bit better time. This is actually a bit perfect, because Maru was moving out. This, I think, is what he wanted. Another Stasis trap, as Maru is distracted and not really looking... He's not going to be looking at two places at once. No one really can. And he's also not really going to be squinting his eyes and being like, where's the Stasis trap? So this is a lot of time buying, which Harstem needs. You know, if Maru was so perfect in his play that he defended the right amount into the just right attack right before Harstem has all of his upgrades and all of his robo units, then yeah, of course Harstem's in trouble. But if Maru kind of has to go like, I don't know, like, oh, Zealots, oh, it's annoying, all Stasis traps, like, that's tons more time for Harstem to feel very confident. All of his upgrades are done, his Colossus are out, he's on his way to Disruptors. I do think this might be a little overeager, but it's also a distraction, and Maru is even very well aware of that. I'm a little surprised, I guess, you know, because Maru is just known for being such a, you know, pretty much a perfect Terran player, and usually with being a good Terran player, you're known for your aggression, that he is playing a very calm game. And I'm not saying that's wrong, I just, if you had told me, envision a game between Maru and Harstem, how does it go? I would have been like, oh, Harstem kind of lives for a little while because Maru is making sure to play safe, and then Maru just kills him. Just goes and kills him. Like, that's legitimately what I would have said, but no. Very much getting both to max out late game TVP by the looks of things, so maybe Maru does still go across the map once maxed out with 2-2 and does win their first fight, and the first and only fight, really. But that's not what I was envisioning, at the very least. So if Harstem gets to play this right, he'll be able to apply some pressure with his main bulk of army, have a bit of supply to make sure to defend any against, again, drops or kind of run-by situations, and then also be able to move around the defending Terran army and actually take control over the map and keep Maru constantly guessing which way am I hitting, which way am I really pushing. If Maru can actually get something done, which is what he's trying to do here, and he actually hits Harstem when Harstem thinks he's the big bad bully, when Harstem's on his side of the map thinking, oh, I have control over things, and Maru actually gets a decent little hit squad into Harstem's 4th or 5th or main or something like that, that'll really disrupt the Protoss' plans. It obviously puts them back on their side of the map, and in this, disruptors get a little bit easier to handle. You know, if you are just sitting there waiting for death, basically, as a Terran on 4 bases, going, well, at least I'm on 4 bases, you can't kill me, you're just kind of feeling like you're waiting for death. It's just that eventually a disruptor will hit you, eventually you won't be quite in position when the army comes around to the left or the right, something along those lines. But if you can actually cause them to also hesitate, and be like, well, you know, I gotta worry about this side and that side. It's at the very least more back and forth. You feel like you're in a little bit more control as a Terran. These Widow Mines, by the way, are surprisingly effective. Observers just aren't coming in with every single army of Harstem. Now he has one big, gigantic blob of an army that he is looking to attack into. And Maru has got to take this army very seriously because he's kind of splitting his own. And that's a very terrible thing that can happen for either race, right? Is that you have 70-30 split and they have 100 right there in front of you. I think it's kind of happened right now. Maru is split. He's in an awkward place. He didn't actually get to Liberators quite yet. If he had 6 Liberators guarding that choke, he could do whatever the hell he wants with the other armies. But he didn't have that. Now DT is coming to his natural. Command Center goes down. Widow Mines are still being a bother, and that's really annoying. But he is losing access into his natural and main base. He's going to have to fight up his own ramp. This is super, super awkward. Disruptor's going to be able to hit. As, of course, Ping is also working against Maru, so this was definitely not at all, ever in 1,000 years, ever going to be the right situation. Liberators do come forward, but most of them getting target fire down. Colossus are getting a little bit low, as Harstem isn't going to win it right here, right now, perhaps, but he has done a tremendous amount of damage, and he's also got 5 base behind this, so I think he's done enough. Maru did have a nice little 360 surround right there. His Widow Mines kept getting second shots, and his EMPs blanketed the army. All good things for a Terran, but he was just such an awkward situation. He's flipping Widow Mines, honestly. That it's probably too far gone. He lost so many building command centers, lost so many SCVs. He's gonna have trouble actually scanning for these TTs. The orbital is going to bite the dust, and that should be it. I think Maru was like, that's not cool, man. I was just about to get to Liberators, and a couple of Liberators already sieged up really could have made a big difference. Liberators actually are often why a Protoss will not engage, even when it maybe could work, when they're like, hold on, like, could it work? Oh, well, there's 2 Liberators, like, I don't know. But since Harstem kind of had the green light, there really was nothing stopping him from entering into that 3rd base. Of course, he was going to take the engagement. Maybe could have found a better end engagement than where he was pretty well surrounded, but I am very much talking like the game is over because it is. I don't know if Maru can actually make this work. No, I don't think so. Maru is finally getting to 3-3. His army quantity, it's not great, but his quality is pretty good. That's a planetary gone. Can't do much about that. He's gonna be only on 2 orbital at the end of the day. Yeah, okay, there it is. GG. Harstem, wow, playing a pretty damn good game. Again, it's just not the game that I expected, which doesn't make it bad or good. It's just not the game that I expected. And perhaps Harstem was, I don't know, perhaps he like intentionally played the way that he did to make sure the game that I was thinking about could never happen. Which is, I'm basically thinking of all like the Hero Marine versus Protoss in the Open Cup stories. Where it's, you know, it could even be a really decent Protoss, and you're like, oh, they could maybe have a chance against Hero Marine. And then Hero Marine just kills him with the first little attack through that choke on the 3rd base. And you're like, well, don't know what I expected. But because Harstem played Phoenix Charge, which actually has its, you know, best powerful moment at that point, I think Maru was forced to play maybe a bit differently than he was even planning. I don't think Maru was uncomfortable in that type of game. So I'm not saying he was forced into a uncomfortable game for him, but maybe a different game. Maybe one where Harstem could then successfully get to the point where he wanted, which was getting maxed out. It's not nearly as simple. There's definitely a lot of games where seemingly the Protoss does transition well, but then still, you know, ends up losing the game. The Terran reads them equally as correctly, and they have a fairly good game. Big fight happens, and the Terran wins. Of course, but Harstem just found that one right moment, especially, and that's great. That's not how I expected Maru to play. Might be playing a bit different for game 2 and the rest of the games as well. Berlingrad, 2nd map. Maru proxy. Well, he didn't proxy. I mean, kind of. He placed a barracks outside of his main, and did get a bit of hubbub. Like, that was annoying for Harstem to deal with the bunker and all that, but I wonder if he figured he didn't do enough damage, and he was already thinking kind of like, I'm on the back foot. Let's make sure to play this correctly and safely. Perhaps I'm just underestimating Harstem and overestimating Maru. Maybe that's just the whole situation. There's only one game. We'll see what happens. At the very least, the next 2. If Harstem 3-0s Maru, that'd be pretty impressive. And in the top left of Berlingrad, we have the blue Protoss Team Liquid's Harstem. And in the bottom right, we have Maru. Who's he playing for? I've already forgotten. Oh, no, we're in the European server qualifiers. Maru. NV. Team NV, that's right. Maru is again going to go for his outside the base barracks. But again, he's gonna do something different this time. Is he gonna try and again get the bunker? Well, already it's a bit different because Harstem is actually scouting. So he's going to see that there is no barracks, and get into the main and see that there are gases. That's pretty important, right? If it was a 2 barracks, there'd be a different response, different expectation for Harstem. But it does a good job scouting around the entire main, because he really should. Thank you, Cuddle Bunny, for the 27-month resub while that game was going on. And he's going to be scouting around in all the wrong locations. Doesn't go to the bottom left. I mean, 50-50. Right, left. Oh, well. Doesn't happen. It is a bit of a shorter map. Might be something that Maru's thinking about. Find more effectiveness. Or perhaps his follow-up is going to be straight up different. Went for the Widowmine drop that was handled rather well. And perhaps a bit unfortunately into a Stargate opener. Could certainly be Twilight Council in this game. And I think Harstem even does some robo openers. No bunker completion this time. Already a better game for Harstem after he won the last game. Eh. You know, Maru could actually... I don't know if it'd be a good idea. I was thinking of some Cyclone builds. I feel like they were kind of popular on short maps, sure, but also they were more popular years ago. Yeah, he's not going to do that. So far so good on saving the probes. One is super, super low, but Maru's actually not going to dive for it. Going to grab this one instead, so that's just the one. A second should be in order. Should be. This is good control so far from Harstem. Very good control. Actually, is he gonna get this Reaper? Oh, wow. Ooh. Maru got one probe and loses the Reaper? That's not good. That's not good at all. Widowmine's gonna get a bop on the Adept by the looks of things, but the Adept will still be able to get into the main. Well, not into the main. Well, or yes, into the main. I was gonna say that the Adept would be able to get on the ramp and see the starport building and the command center building, but well, the shade just went right on in there, didn't it? All right then. Alrighty. That's easy peasy. So seeing that setup, no tech lab on the factory, starport being built, probably just assume that it isn't going to be a Widowmine drop. And Harstem is not going to be playing defensive or saying, well, I won the macro game, let me just do that again. Kind of macro game. Phoenix Charge can be very aggressive, but obviously he went into macro. He's going to be aggressive, so no technology, but a lot of aggression. Maru's going to obviously see this and probably be a little concerned, but it's really good that he saw this as quickly as possible. If he had lost the medevac, that sucks, but I think that was unlikely with the amount of stalkers that were available. The point is, he sees that there's a pylon, very much going to be used. I figure a bunker would be in order. Maru knows better than I do, though, so alright then. Just calmly gets into a tank and continues his Widowmine drop, which, hey, is going to buy a lot of time. There you go. Actually going to buy a ton of time. Widowmine just gets to the main base. The stalkers are pulled entirely away from the front lines. Yeah, okay, no bunker necessary. Alright then. Now this puts Harstem in a really awkward position. Even though he handles the Widowmines, again, without, probe losses, this pulled him entirely back. His whole plan of attack is ruined. Like, you just don't do it from now on. I wouldn't think, anyways. But if you don't do it, then what have you really got? You go for a robo after all these gateways? I mean, I guess you add on Colossus. Play a slow defensive game. Third Nexus, Colossus, no blink, no charge. You're going to be in maybe a tough spot for the mid-game when Maru is going to be driving around, floating around with all his medevacs, but if you could play this really well, if you could play this as, like, everything positioned perfectly, then, I can see it. And he's going to have a ton of time to get observers. Tell you what, that's going to be... He could actually get up to, like, 4 observers. The committal to the attack might be warranted. I don't know. Maru's got an auto turret that's going to be really impactful. The Adepts didn't really do a whole lot. I think the idea was to tank a shot? Or maybe just it was actually scouting, because, of course, it won't tank a shot if the Adept shades near the tank. So maybe the Adept shade was just scouting. Oh, you know what? It was trying... Okay, yeah, it was trying to bait the second tank's shot that actually wasn't out. So that was just unfortunate timing, I think. It was really just like, oh, that didn't make any sense. I don't get it. But yeah, okay. If a second tank was sieged, it would have shot at the first tank and done a lot of damage. I knew there was a reason, just had to figure it out. Alright, so that was a good hand. Like, this is just still not a super fantastic situation for Harstem. Like I said, should have trouble in the mid-game. But he's gonna get to the mid-game. I mean, he's gonna get to his third Nexus. Now probably chrono his probes a decent amount. He's really not that far ahead in workers. Up by 6s. Could be worse, I suppose. Maybe up by 8, usually. As a Protoss player versus Terran. Maru is going to move out. I don't think he's actually legitimately moving out. He should just be waiting for stim combat shields and +1 to all finish. And when he moves out with that, especially with the Raven having almost full energy, probably. It's going to be very difficult for Harstem to defend. Harstem doesn't really truly have map control. His 4 Stalkers are, like, trying to be cool, but they don't have blinks. They're really not that cool. Harstem might be able to walk the line just well enough to get his production just at the right time to finish and warp in a lot of units, but again, those units will not have those upgrades like Blink or Charge. So there'll be fodder units for the Colossus, which still necessary, not as good as usual. And Maru will be able to knock the Colossus out of the equation with the Interference Matrix if everything went super, super perfectly. Which I feel like it could. Scan's gonna reveal the Colossus, just the one. Second one, I think, is on the way. Yeah. It is. But Charge, not even halfway done. As Maru comes across the shorter map, Harstem needs to buy more time, which is exactly what he's trying to do. And this is exactly what you should do as a Protoss player. But unfortunately, not even able to use a force field or two to block the main choke there, the middle choke. Probably would have been very helpful. And now, because he hasn't stopped Maru in the middle, he's going to be out of position to stop him when he gets on top of this ramp. Tanks are a little bit brazen, but here comes the rest of the army. And unfortunately, the tanks don't get taken down. Interference Matrix on one Colossus, and another one about to be ready to go. To be fair, Colossus are still alive. But it's not even about... I think there's multiple options for Maru here. He could have done a drop and a push, or just the main push. Either way, I think it was going to be super effective. And if Harstem had been able to buy a lot of time through some means, then he might be able to hold, but he needed to buy time. And now that he's tucked into his own natural, it seems like it's game over. He's taking out nothing. And the tanks went down, the Raven didn't go down, even the Marines, I think most of them barely lived from the Colossus shots. There's only one Colossus firing at the time. Charge is going to finish, and that will help take out the tanks. But what about the rest of the bio? It's 3 Colossus, can they do the trick? A lot of Marauders. Dragging them into the Widow Mines as well, actually. Well placed, so the Widow Mines did not really do any friendly fire. And that is that. GG. Just a very poor opener for Harstem. I think at the end of the day, yeah. Tries to go for aggression, tries to change things up, which I always applaud. I think you gotta. But, ew, it turned sour on him. Went from being a potential nice timing of getting the Widow Mine drop to maybe even, you know, back away, maybe even go back home. Because maybe some other Terrans would have been like, oh shit, and then they would have went back home, buried the Widow Mines, and hoped that they still survived the attack. But instead, the Widow Mines went across the map, the Stalkers chased them, left plenty of time for Maru to defend his natural. I mean, yeah, you guys saw what happened. After that, after you don't have a very good economy and you don't have any technology, the Protoss is supposed to be in a terrible spot. But what could have happened, he could have actually maybe gotten a contain. I don't know about breaking the main base, even if the tank hadn't been out, like, still questionable. But containing Maru so that he doesn't do the Widow Mine drop, or he does, but it's really ineffective. He can't get down to his natural base. He has to siege hop his tanks slowly. I mean, that's a ton of time to work with, but he just really did nothing. Thank you, Silly Therese, for the 6-month resub. Looks like Hero Marine did come back versus Max Pax, so... Showtime Hero Marine's the other semifinal. Classic. Classic matchup. What you see now is the lower bracket. So, Max Pax dropped down to face Lambo. Skillis. Oh, took down Marine Lord. Special Cure. Could have been a cool TVT as well. Yep. Yep, we're getting close to the end of this qualifier. But there's another one today, guys. North America is going to be starting up later on as well, and I'll be doing that one too. We're into game number 3. It's all tied up now. On to Glittering Ashes. Oh my goodness. Top right, the Red Terran. He's Maru. For Team NV. And on the bottom left, for Team Liquid, we have Harstem. I made a disgruntled noise because this is a really large map. I think My preferences for maps, I think, are between the 33 and 37 second rush distance, not to get too technical. But that does seem to be, you know, alongside with, I guess, appropriate proportions otherwise, dimensions of the map. Seems to be the sweet spot, in my opinion. That's where most of our maps find themselves, and then anything shorter, like Beckett, kind of is like, meh. Anything longer, like, well, perhaps Glittering Ashes, is like, well, do you really want to do this? I don't know about that. Oh, no. Harstem had the right idea. Checked around for the proxy, but was... I wouldn't even say just shy of seeing. He was pretty short, because it's a very large map. There's a lot of space to cover. Unfortunately, oh man, I do think that if you are going to only scout for the proxy and not actually go across the map with your probe, I do feel like being a tad bit more thorough is usually in order. An extra couple of seconds, you know what I'm saying? But even then, there's no guarantee. There really is no guarantee you're gonna find it. Could have been on the right side, and Harstem would have been nowhere close. So that kind of sucks. He is still going to try and do his due diligence as far as scouting goes. If an SCV comes along, immediately get on top of it. There you go. Stop it from building a bunker, either in your face or behind a mineral line. Maru truly proxying on the largest map. I'm gonna write these down later, and I'll get it before season finals, guys. Not too surprising. Thing is, he's not gonna have very much of a follow-up, but that's, you know, if his follow-up's a Widowmine drop again, it's still pretty fair, even if the map is really large. Harstem did a pretty amazing job of microing last game. Pretty damn good. And that set him off on the right tone for the game. It just was his gateway dedication that really didn't do anything that turned sour. Good adept usage, kills the SCV, shades back to deal with the Reaper, and I could even see him saving all of his probes here. Oh, nope. That one's probably a goner. Oh, no. Shield regen kicked in. Yeah, alright. And he fully blocks the Reaper hop-up with that Twilight Council he placed down, so... yeah, again, only one probe went down. This time, however, both Reapers are alive. So, if they could bypass this Adept, if they do choose to dive, they could probably grab 2 or 3 more probes. He's gonna show off his micro versus the Adept and thus lose a Reaper. He tried to juke his way out of that one, but Harstem had, I think, literally just clicked on the Reaper with the Adept shade. Alright, so still a very not great opener for Maru this time around, assuming that the Widowmine drop also doesn't do a surprising amount of damage. Harstem should be in a much better position. Again, I didn't mind the gateway pressure idea of last game. It just sucked. It just, you know, didn't go very well. But I think there's always a possibility that it goes extremely well and nets you a very easy victory. Just not last game. So instead, chooses not to proxy a pylon, not to go for additional gateways, goes right into the Twilight Council, something that Maru was able to check with the Reaper hop-up. And with that, should be Blink. No professional goes for a charge all-in anymore in 2 bases. It's very ineffective. I've tried. Not that I'm a pro, but I've tried, and if the Terran has any decent build order, it feels like it doesn't do anything. Anywho, so Blink, 3rd Nexus, would also be the great scout to really confirm that, but I think getting into the main base is a bit more preferable. Pretty full scout. Pretty full. So sees no gases at the natural quite yet, sees only the gateway at the front, knows about the gateway there. I guess there actually could be more gateways, but Maru's gonna see the 3rd Nexus soon anyways. Well-timed observer. So far, so very good for Harstem's defense. Maru, at the very least, picks up some scouting, confirmation, what he probably already assumed, and then decides to just run everything in. That one I wasn't expecting. That one I was not expecting. But hey, the Midivec lives. Again, could have been worse for Maru. Could have been a lot better. I was 100% expecting Maru to hold that in the middle and wait for his push. So he either goes before the push and distracts in that fashion, or goes after the push or with the push and gets a couple of surprise Widowmine kills. It means that the Widowmine drop hasn't done anything for minutes, but I mean, that just was totally fruitless. That was not effective. Oh well. Tank is sieged up nice and tight into the Sim City, so it's really not going to be taken down too easily. I don't think Harstem's gonna be looking for the tank. He's gonna be hoping to find some SCV kills. Yeah, he could go over a little bit more to the right, but then the farther he goes to the right, the more his army is trapped in if he tries to escape. So, a couple SCVs, couple Marines. No, my god, no! Okay, I didn't really mean to shout no, but I just... I did not think that was a super fantastic idea. Stalkers, though, mostly gonna live, so it's all good, it's alright. If there is a one-shot number of stalkers, then do what you want, but it's just always not that many stalkers. Tank gets repaired up, and finally Blink is ready to go, so he leaves. Alright then. Warp Prism on the way, charge, +1 armor, all that good stuff. Going into Archons, and I guess Storm fairly immediately. Seems to be kind of coming in and out of particular players' repertoire. Just like, it's not necessarily, I guess, super meta, but it's not super uncommon. Really depends on the Protoss and what they prefer to play right now. I still am on kind of the side against a really fantastic Terran player like Maru. I'm not a super big fan of Storm, but I've seen enough games where I'm like, yeah, okay, alright. I guess it's something you can work with. If he does actually get Storm. Just be going charge on Archon. All the gateways are finishing up, upwards of 8, and a Warp Prism playing very offensive. I think he's just gonna wait for the push and totally envelop it. Oh, this is a good chance to get the tank. There it is. There it goes. And should be able to escape with all but one of the... Yeah, the one stalker goes down. Warp Prism is just actually waiting for a Warp Prism dive into the main. Harstem's all over any potential push. Whoa, whoops it easy. Harstem's all over any potential push. Maru would be better off not pushing, because there actually is nothing really to gain from it. Storm is not on the way, which you can actually see. He's kind of Templar Archives. So you're not hitting prior to a technology that's being invested into, but hasn't actually rewarded anything, right? And you know that with this style, this opener's 3-base mass gateway, you gotta know it's a Warp Prism, but apparently Maru is still gonna get surprised. I always feel like the Terrans should know, and then they're always surprised. The trick, of course, with Maru right now is he's going to go for a 2-base SCV pool. He had to go at some time, and any time is going to be a bad time because Harstem is going to scout it and dive at that particular point. It's just you're screwed it, right? There's no good option for the Terran. High Templar is taken down before getting the the feedback off, so the anti-armor missile could go down, but some miscontrol right now as the tanks siege up. One of them gets taken down immediately. The other two are forced to be abandoned as the army was forced to... I mean, it was already running away. And now the other turrets come down, but that's not exactly ideal. Super easy hold from Harstem. Super easy. Super, super easy. Can't express how easy this was. I'm surprised Maru's gonna try and play this one out. No. Yeah, GG. GG. Harstem, I mean, I think he might have been able to still go for, whatchamacallit, for Storm. If he had, like, chronoed it out, gotten a Storm, and had it to defend the SCV pull on the ramp. I think that also works out quite well, because that's definitely something that SCV pulls are terrible against, a Storm. Unless you can, like, kill the High Templars beforehand. But, even if you don't go for that, yeah, just going for a lot of units. Just preparing for an attack. Not going up to Colossus, you know, if you're getting double Robo and Robotics Bay, and building 2 Colossus, like, if they're not out, oh, you're in trouble. Trying to go for too many Stalkers. If you try and actually do an attack with Stalkers, you get up to, like, 12 or 16 or something insane, and then you're like, oh no, they didn't do a whole lot, I guess I'm screwed. You know, it's like 4 gate, right? Probably aren't in too hot of a spot, but just going up to Archons, Zealots, and jumping on top of the Terran army before they're clearly ready. Oh yeah, it looks super easy. I do think if that engagement happens a bit slower, if the SCVs are in front of the bio, which is in front of the tanks, and the tanks siege up, get some shots off before the engagement happens, SCVs appropriately block the Zealots, you know. I mean, probably still a little sketch, probably still a little scary, adrenaline rushing, right? But that just was one of the easier holds I've seen in a while. So that means that Harstem is up 2-1. 2-1. And, you know, the game that he lost, it really was not... felt like, not exactly a build order loss, but it was dead before it really got going. That's what it felt like. You know, Harstem, I feel like it was equivalent of cheesing. You know, 3 gateways, 2 bases, pretty dedicated. No technology, all that stuff. It was like cheesing and it not working. You go, fair enough, didn't work, alright then. But that's the one that Harstem lost. Otherwise, 2 games he won, a bit more macro, a bit more just about the rights situation, the rights response. I'll say Harstem's playing pretty well. And it seems like, I think I say that with such confidence that he's playing well, not because he's up 2-1, which is also a sign, but also because I've been really impressed with how he's handled these Reaper attacks. Like, he just seems very on point today. So he's gotten this far, and now he's 1 game away from qualifying for TSL8. On the top left, he is Maru, and he would really love to not have to stay up till 7 in the morning again, but he might have to. In the bottom right, it is Harstem. And Harstem probably just beep-bopping along to his music like he do. Having the time of his life. Wasn't successful in the last qualifier. He's looking very successful here. There is a lot of doodads on this map. So we went from 1 large map to a small map to another large map. Oh wait, no. Last map was large as well. I got confused with Berlingrad. Nope. Even though it was an SCV pool, it was on a large map. And this is large. This is large. Tons of doodads. Checking every which way for a proxy. Not gonna find one, because Maru's not doing it. 1 racks expand. Finally going for it. Map with gold bases. It's so defensively set up. It's a big map, both in rush distance as well as the dimensions, like left to right. A lot of bases. And your bases are up on a high ground. These are all things that contribute to it being defensive. But we did see some awkwardness with Drogo, right? Where there's at least one thing that isn't perfect for the defenders. Which is, you're trying to defend your 3rd and your natural at the same time. It's always going to be awkward. Maru was able to just kind of easily walk up into the natural, which put Drogo into a very difficult spot. So I do wonder if Harstem is going to take the same base. I don't officially want to stamp a map with the bases that Protoss should take until I've seen it 2 or 3 times. Stargate opener from Harstem, though. A lot of room to play around. Not particularly... I guess it isn't really that great for it. You couldn't... well, I'm trying to think of Stalker games. There's some space in the main base. Stalker opener is fine. Oh, Phoenix is definitely going to get from point A to point B as quick as possible. No Zerglings in this matchup. Hellions are also going to get across the map fairly quickly. And that is what Maru's opening up with. Defensive bunker to help with the combination of the natural ramp. Really not much that Harstem could do. So Harstem goes into... if he goes into an Oracle, could get some damage done, yes. But then he might add on a Twilight Council and start a Blink. Not necessarily something that helps him immediately against the Hellions. If he goes right into Phoenix, which he does... well, I guess the Oracle also could have stayed at home. Used Pulsar Beam to help out. But I'm thinking about the Phoenix... picking up the Hellions, stopping any Widow Mine drops that might follow this up. The Phoenix could be very good here. It's always about positioning. It's always about positioning. Are the Phoenix actually there to stop the Hellions, to stop the drop? Or are they late to the party? So one thing that Harstem, kind of has to play around with right now is decision, is to use his Phoenix, go straight across the map and get a scout, or to keep his Phoenix back at home defending, scouting his, what's the word? The airspace around his main and natural. So, first option, obviously you figure out, hey, it's a Widow Mine drop, oh my god. Second option, they'd actually be in position to stop the Widow Mine drop, which seems a bit preferable. It's a cute little wall. It's a very, campaign wall. You look at this wall in a campaign, you'd be like, that's stupid. But actually here, it makes a lot of sense. Doesn't have a whole lot of units, but he's going to use them to the best of their ability. And the Phoenix, otherwise, could take care of the medevac drop. I'm not sure where they are, because the medevac, it did go right to the middle, which can be very clever, but the Phoenix really weren't that far away. They're going to be able to pick up, yeah, okay, you're going to need to pick up at least the 3 Widow Mines, if not all 4, and he did all 4, so that's perfect. That is perfect. If you pick up 3 and 1 shoots, that doesn't kill Phoenix, so it's okay. But to pick up everything, and of course you get the medevac kill, This is exactly what you want to have happen with a Phoenix opener. Exactly what you want to have happen. Like, the only thing that went wrong for Harstem is that he didn't get his third Nexus as fast as he wanted. Like, okay. Cry with your fistfuls of cash and all that. He's still in a very good position. Maru found really very little to no success, killing 3 probes in this game. Compared to what he lost, not good. And then he also has to deal with Phoenix harassment. He has nothing to apply pressure with. He has very little to even defend the Phoenix with. Like, this is a slam dunk opener for Harstem. He's probably thinking right now that this is already looking like, I don't know if it's a game, but sometimes, you know, you listen to pros when they cast on Home Story Cup and it's like, I lost a Reaper, I'm dead. So maybe Harstem is thinking I've already won this game. It's a pretty powerful position to be in. You got a lot of scouting, you got a lot of map control, you can really do a whole lot before Stim's done. Probe even kills a Hellion, that's like, just makes you feel good. I mean, it's... I don't know how much I can overstate how well Harstem is going to be able to play out the rest of this game. He's going to go into Phoenix Charge, which... Actually, like, I wonder if I'm a... I mean, I just want Harstem to take advantage of everything we see here. Is basically what I'm just hoping for, right? And the only reason I'm kind of on the Phoenix Charge is that... yeah, it was a bit of a lag spike there. Is that I do feel like it is still, at the end of the day, something that is directed towards the mid-game, and then can kind of struggle to get past the early-ish mid-game, right? So you're going to have that big power spike, maybe when like one of the Terrans first pushes, and you're going to feel really good about yourself, but then you kind of have this equally scary part where you're trying to get to actual good technology. Did it fantastic, had a really great game number 1 with a similar style of play, so he's probably feeling confident about it. I just, I do think he's in a really good position. I just want to make sure that the thing that I'm afraid will happen is that Maru will say, okay, you know, this really hasn't been a great game for me, but I think I ultimately can play a really good late game. I just messed up in the first game. And so I'm going to get to 3 bases and turtle and use the map as well to my advantage because it's a potentially turtly map. And then we're going to get to maxed out. And fair is fair. Harstem did win their macro game in game number 1, so that's probably still fine for him. But it's just, you know, if he's going to win, being much easier, much nicer to do it before it gets to both of you maxed out. Now this is if Maru can play an absolutely perfect game and not make any mistakes or get too far forward, get caught out of position, all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't think Maru has many other shots right now. Didn't have a fantastic opener, and he's not going to have a great mid-game chance either. Again, going up against Phoenix Charge, which he should be aware of. Resource trade's insane. It's just so well. It's going so well for Harstem. Maru doesn't technically know it's charge. I guess. No, he actually saw the building robo, so he does know. Yeah, he knows. I mean, I think he figured it anyways, but... yeah, he sees no 4th gas, sees the robo coming down only just now. Should be expecting a large platoon of zealots to arrive on top of him. Which, if you're going to SCV pull, that is what you're usually hoping to go up against. The SCVs tank all the shots and all the charge damage, right, from the zealots, and then the rest of the bio can do their job. This is typically what you'd want to be up against. Harstem does not have a lot of Archons. In fact, no Archons this time around. No feedback coming down. Decent last-second split against the anti-armor missile, but the SCVs are going to be able to do their job in this situation. Tanks, again, not going to be part of the equation. This is not nearly as much of a just stampeding victory for Harstem. He's actually forced to disengage. He managed to take down every tank, every Widow Mine, every medevac, but he does need to have a couple more reinforcements before we can actually say this is done and dusted. Maru going for the all-in. Could have also done the turtle game, sure, but I think both options were not looking so hot after such a terrible early game. I am a little surprised by the SCV pull just because it is a super large map. But compositionally, this is a lot of the time what it wants to go up against. Basically, before you have any splash. And if you have splash, hopefully you don't have a lot of splash. But in this case, there was just a lot of Protoss. A lot of Protoss that didn't snowball negatively. So if there's a lot of Protoss, but you take down the 30 Zealots, and you're like, ooh, got past that first wave, and then you get on top of the reinforcing Zealots, and then you jump onto the natural and take down the gateways, like, that could snowball. Protosses have probably all lost a rather silly game like that. You're like, well, I definitely should have been able to get 16 more zealots, but then he just killed one of my pylons. But this didn't happen, so Harstem just continues making zealots and archons and finishes +2 armor. He's good to go. Harstem, oh well, he loses an immortal, it's a bit awkward, but that's not too important. Guardian shield is even here. Not even a shield battery, actually. I don't think he needs it though, it's fine. Maru's trying his best. 20 army supply down an upgrade as well, but that is a lot of Protoss. Harstem is going to take the 3-1. He's going to send Maru down to the lower brackets, which I gotta say, historically, Korean players and Maru as well don't usually stick it out in the lower bracket, but so close to the finals, he might just. I'll see if he can do it. I mean, if you're staying up till 5 in the morning, why not stay up until 6 in the morning? So congratulations to Harstem. He had quite a good bracket run, too. He looked really good in PvT. Because I feel like Harstem can sometimes have a bit of an odd PvT.